I have had several client families in the same predicament. They have saved diligently, and through our work together, we ensure that their nest egg will support them to and through retirement. They have charitable hearts, but they aren't sure how best to utilize their resources to support the causes that they care about. Hi there, Brenna Bockham, Collective Wealth Planning. Today, I want to walk you through an exercise to help you create your unique philanthropic philosophy. This is one that I love to do at workshops because so much financial advice is dependent upon the variables in your life. So it depends is a common answer to specific questions. However, this exercise gives you a useful, tangible thing at the end of it, no matter where you're coming from. I have no idea who coined the term philanthropic philosophy, but pretty consistently, I assume that anything I think of is probably a riff of something that I've heard from somebody who's smart. So this framework that I've put together here is a combination of the ideas I've seen work in my practice with my client families, learnings that have come from research, facts, and of course, my opinion. So let this disclosure page be a thank you to those who have contributed to creating this philanthropic philosophy as I'm defining it here today. For this exercise, you're going to need a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil that you like to hold. And then you probably know what I mean by that, right? Some pens are terrible. Find a nice one for this exercise. Go ahead and pause the video here if you need to grab that. If you've been following Collective Wealth Planning for any amount of time, you know that we're fans of Simon Sinek and his Start With Why concept. And if you haven't heard of it, you can watch it at his TED Talk on the subject on YouTube, but after you watch this video. So we're going to use his framework today. We will start by exploring core values with an effective exercise from one of our favorite researchers, Brené Brown. We'll then develop a few ideas for identifying good or worthy organizations. And these are going to be really unique to you and your outlook. The third step is to determine the right amount. And finally, we'll put all three of these together to help create a framework we can apply to our philanthropic efforts to serve as a guide moving forward. Our first exercise is to identify our core values. These serve really as the foundation of our why, our motivations for living and giving. In the description area of this video, you will find a link to Brené Brown's exercise, Living into Our Values. In it, she invites you to review a list of core values with the goal of identifying your top two. And what I've seen work well is to go through this list and circle or write all of the values that resonate with you. Then, as you look at a shortened version of this list, it becomes pretty clear how they flow into each other or overlap. Once you identify your top two, she prompts us in true Brené Brown fashion to take our values from BS to behavior. If you've already been through exercises like this before and you feel pretty clear on your top two values, I encourage you to run them through this section of the exercise to see how they hold up. So go ahead and pause the video, click on the link in the description below, and complete the exercise. All right, how are we feeling? Are we firm on our top two core values? The next step is the how. How do we define what makes a good organization? This is, of course, subjective, right? It's often based on interest. So whether that's a community that you care about or a cause that you want to support. It can also include a metric-based assessment of how much of the organization's funding is going toward program versus administrative expenses. That's one example. And if you're thinking that sounds hard, like a hard metric to measure, it can be hard for small nonprofits, but evaluators like Charity Navigator and GuideStar are distilling this information for some of the larger 501c3s. So you can certainly take that information. So a good starting place might be to reflect on the organizations that you've supported previously and look for any patterns or themes in them. I will again ask you to pause the video and take a few minutes to write down 2 ways to define good organizations in your eyes. And the examples here on the slide may help you get started. Our third step will focus on the what. What will we give and how often? Designing a tangible measurement can provide guidance that is both flexible and repeatable. The determinant may be based on a dollar amount or a percentage of some measurement of your wealth. It may be a set number of hours that you hope to volunteer. You'll also want to indicate the frequency level. So the more specific that we can get in this area, the more useful it's going to be. So pause the video, take a moment to write down what you want to give and how often. Our last step is to put the whole thing together. Like Mad Libs, you replace the underlying words with your own. I strive to give to organizations that support your core values. They do that by your definition of what makes a good organization. I aim to donate at least your measurement by percentage or amount of the resource that you're giving from, your hours or required distribution or your income, how often, the frequency. So take a minute here to pause the video again for the last time, plug in your words, and then we will come back together and refine it once you're done. Well, how does it look? Sometimes it can be helpful to look at a couple of examples to help refine yours. So here's a few here. I strive to give to organizations that support education and equality. They do that by spending over 90% of their funding on programs. I aim to donate at least 50% of my required minimum distribution every year. And there are a few other examples here on the slide. So notice the use of flexible words like strive and aim. The goal of creating a philanthropic philosophy isn't to place limits on your gifting. It's instead to give parameters as a starting place as you revisit your plan regularly. When you're on the cusp of a decision to join a board, or maybe you're wading through the dozens of worthy charitable requests that are in your mailbox or your inbox, having this philosophy close at hand continually points you back to your North Star. You might feel like this short statement doesn't quite encompass what you want your philanthropic philosophy to say. Of course, this is yours. You are welcome to expand it. But I will share that the clients I've seen use this most effectively keep it short and simple. Not only does that empower effective giving for them, but as a secondary perk, a brief statement like this is also very easy to share. At a minimum, the framework can open up conversations with your advisor and maximize tax efficiency of your monetary gifts. And as I'm saying this, I'm thinking of a checklist that I will add to the description area for you to download on the financial implications to consider when you're giving a monetary gift. So that's one perk of a short, shareable philosophy like this. And at its best and highest use, your philanthropic philosophy can grow a giving nature that starts with you into a legacy and instill generosity for future generations. I have seen many of my client families share this with their kids and their grandkids, and it can be incredibly powerful. I would absolutely love the opportunity to hear your philanthropic philosophy. So please type it in the comments below or shoot me an email at brenna@collectivewealthplanning.com. I hope this exercise was helpful and fun. Stay well, give freely.